One of the most common questions I'm asked is, how do I deal with the negative people in my life? When we start this transformational journey and we get clear about our vision and where we want to go, it's really common to start to notice the negativity around us. And conversations before that we engaged in, that we were part of, friends that we had, and we loved hanging out with them, all of a sudden, as we are shifting our perception, our awareness, we start to notice the negativity more and more and more. And we can't change anybody else. The only thing that we can change is ourselves. However, there are tools on how to manage the people around you, and more importantly, your own mindset when you're around those people, so that experience becomes much more positive. First of all, start to pay attention to how you're feeling when you're around certain people. I had a friend, we were friends for many years, and as I started inside this work, I started to realize every time I'm leaving our gatherings or our get-togethers, I feel exhausted, I feel drained, and I started to become more aware of that. And I got curious, is this a person I want in my life? Is this who I want to spend my time with? And so starting to become more aware of the people in your life that lift you up. When, we've got those friends in our life, we hang up the phone and we're feeling so inspired and excited, and you've got more energy afterwards than you had before. And then we have those relationships where it feels draining. You're dreading going into that conversation. You're dreading that dinner. Paying attention to that and honoring that part of you, because what that is it's feedback to help you get more clear about your vision and who you do want in your life, and to start to get really clear about the conversations you do want to be having, the types of people that you want to be hanging out with, what you would be doing. And you can start to paint that picture or form the vision of who you do want in your life. Now, there's the relationships in our life that we can't step away from. This could be a family member, it could be a coworker, where you're kind of stuck with them. So how do you manage that negativity? One of the things that I would suggest is working with yourself to really generate a state of compassion. Knowing that every single person on this planet today is doing the best they can at their level of awareness, based on their experiences, based on their history, based on their knowledge, based on many, many different things. They're doing the best they can. Really easy to have compassion for somebody that we maybe meet very briefly. They're having a bad day. It's tougher to generate that level of compassion with somebody we know a little bit more intimately. So working with ourselves to really see that infinite part of their nature. I love the word namaste, because namaste means that power within me, that light within me, sees and recognizes the light within you. It's removing the personality and really connecting at that spiritual level or that soul level. So when we can start to see people through that lens of that inner being, that inner light, knowing that they're doing the best they can at their level of awareness, it helps us to shift to compassion. And when we're in compassion, it's much easier to be inside of that energy, because it removes the resentment, it removes the judgment or those blocks or that need to be defensive. I had a client who had a really difficult uncle, and she was noticing what she was noticing, and every time they would get together, it would become lots of conflict and very adversarial, and she was noticing this. And as I invited her to really recognize that he's doing the best he can, he is a spiritual being having a human experience. And he didn't change at all, but what changed within her is she was now seeing him through that lens, able to generate that state of compassion. And so she wasn't as triggered, she didn't get as engaged, and the relationship started to change. The other thing that happens with people in our life is we're doing our own inner work. As we're showing up as our best selves, not doing it perfectly, imperfectly, but really doing our best to connect to our vision, show up as our best self. We raise our vibration. We raise our emotion, our emotional state, and how we're showing up in the world. And those negative people, what happens is they're no longer a match for where we're at. And oftentimes what happens is they start to fall away. They gradually start to call less. They show up less. There's less conflict, because you've raised your state of mind, your state of being in such a way that they're no longer a match to it. They can't connect to it. So often what happens is you get clear about your vision of the relationships you want, and you match that. You show up as your best self. You start to attract new people into your life, new friendships, new connections that are more in alignment with who you're being and what it is that you would love. And those old ones often naturally fall away. Or where there was once conflict, that dissipates into more of a neutrality. And it doesn't mean that we want to go hang out with those people and spend our time there, but it's much easier when we're in those environments. If you've got that difficult person in your life, start these practices now. Start to pre-pave seeing them in their light, seeing them as that spiritual being, asking yourself, how would my best self show up here, generating that state of compassion and getting really clear about who you want to surround yourself with. We can't change them. What we have a choice about is how we're going to show up. So show up as your best self, and here is to you living a life you love.